fishery management plans was the keystone. I just mentioned that a little while ago, and about, I think I did, but anyway, it's like trout. Okay, here's trout. All right. Well, first of all, before we can manage trout, what kind of shape are trout in? Are they good, bad, poor, what? So the first thing we got to do is make a stock assessment. This is part of the management plan. Then, what do we need to do to get it to good? But also, when we get it to good, what's the mechanism of taking those restrictions or regulations off? You don't want regulations to stay forever. I mean, because if the regulations are make the fishery good, then at some point we ought to arrive, not keep the regulations forever. So the first thing was mandate the fishery management plans. That was the key. But as I said, you've got to have the habitat and water protection as well. So it also mandated the development of coastal habitat and so forth, and that was done in other commissions. And so it was an effort on our part to acknowledge that the problem with fisheries is not just Bob Lucas and everybody else catching too many of them. There's other problems such as water quality and habitat. So what are we going to do about that? So that's why those plans were mandated. But you know what? All of that is worth the paper it's written on unless you provide the funding to do it. And the people have to go do it, and they don't need to take forever to do it. Go do it. And anyway, I don't want to get on too much of a soapbox, but the blueprint, if you will, of the act, to me, even today, and I'm not saying this because I have a small part to play in it, but it will work. It will work, but you got to follow it. And you can't help everybody, even though it's there, it passed, there's still that human inclination to want to bypass it because we need the results now. So let's ban this. Let's ban trawling. Let's do this. Let's do that. If you want to ban trawling, then you've got to ban trawling for a reason to protect the resource. You don't just ban it because you want to ban it, and you gotta have the evidence to back it up. It's the same thing practicing law. As I tell clients, there's this one thing we got to go by, and they call it evidence. You know, if it wasn't for that, we'd be all right, but we got to have it. So another point that was so important in this process was not just these plans and so forth, but was the advisory committee process, and it's all in here. I mean, I remember going to the people in these towns and saying, "Look, I hope this is not the last time that we hear from you. We need to set up a mechanism so that if we're going to do something on trout, we know what the people in Pittsburgh think or here." And so we set up the advisory committees so that we would get that flow of information to the decision makers. The reason I say that is I heard that when after I was out and everything that the funding was so tight they couldn't pay the travel expense for the people on the committees. So I don't know how much all of that went down, but so I know it was a struggle with money, but it's like anything else. If you're going to do something like this, you got to give the resources to it to make it work. And so the real question is there a commitment in two places? One, in the division. Does the division really want this to work? Then two is the Marine Fisheries Commission. I don't care what you have on paper. These can be some of the best ideas there ever was. I don't know. But unless you appoint people that have a passion for it and want it to work, it's not going to work. If you put political hacks on commissions or people that just, okay, I'll do it, but I don't want to do it, you're not going to get good results. And I'm not saying that there's bad people put on there. I'm not. The truth is, I don't know, but I do know that's what it takes for it to be successful.